Palestinians, they weren't blowing themselves up 100 years ago. Mark Twain visited Palestine. You can read his travel log. Nobody punched him or assaulted him. Or Gertrude Bell visited Palestine. Imam al-Ghazali lived in Palestine for a period. He wrote Risala al-Qudsi in Palestine. We don't have any testimonies about how dangerous Palestine was. So what happened? What changed? The social circumstances changed. And so responses, I'm not justifying them in any way, but I'm trying to understand them. Because if you want to heal them, you have to understand what caused them. Oppressed peoples, one of the strategies that Ibn Khaldun says about oppressed peoples is that when people are oppressed, they actually use laziness as a strategy. So slaves will walk slower because they're oppressed and they don't want to be working for the master. So they'll literally, Ibn Khaldun mentioned, because he's a sociologist, he's looking at the society and he's determining the social ills. So he said when people are oppressed, they become lazy as a strategy because they're not being paid for their work, so they don't feel honored. And they don't like, who wants to work without getting any pay or, right? And then he said, and then they practice trickery. They use subterfuge, they lie. So if you change the social circumstances, the behavior will change. So understanding the pathologies are very important. But despite that, because at one level, humans are normal, and these are normal responses to abnormal circumstances. But the challenge for us as Muslims is that Allah is saying, I'm telling you not to be normal. I'm telling you to rise above. I'm telling you to be the superior man or woman. That Allah is challenging us to actually not go to the default setting. Right? There's a default setting for human beings. One of them is vengeance, default setting. One of them is anger. One of them is resentment. These are all default settings. They're not a choice. They're a default setting. If you look at the Arabic word for choice, it's ikhtiyar. Akhtara means literally in Arabic to internalize good. It's from khayr. So a choice is to do good. The default setting is to go to those other things. And that's why the worst thing you can do, as far as God's concerned, after shirk, is to shirk your responsibility of doing the right thing in the situation, no matter what the circumstances are. Shirking responsibility is the second after shirk. And the way you shirk your responsibility is going to the default setting and not choosing to choose, because He gave you free will. And for you to throw that free will back into the proverbial face of God is an insult to your Creator. Because God is saying you can rise above. And I'm challenging you because I have made you superior when you do that to the angels. And that's why the Quran is calling us to the better angels of our nature, which is not easy. Imam Nawawi in the hadith, the 40 hadith that says, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. None of you truly believes until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself or herself, brother or sister, right? These are traditional, it's like men have X and Y. We have X and we have Y. So when you say we can't understand you, you're wrong, because we've got our mother's genes in us. She gave us a Y chromosome. Right? You guys have double X's. You don't understand us, but we understand you. Yeah. So I know that I'm going to get a lot of. They're already writing all the. So anyway, the X and the Y, it's like grammar. So the male traditionally contains the female. It's like we contain the female, right? I had a professor who demanded I write his, her with a slash, which I don't like. I'd rather do his and sometimes her, but I told him I didn't want to do that. And then he said, no, you have to or I'll give you a bad grade. So I said, if I can prove that nature actually condemns that, would you? So I explained my argument about X and Y, and he said, that's a very clever argument, but you still have to write his, her. So anyway, the hadith says, Imam Nawawi said, this brotherhood includes the Jew, the Christian, and the idol worshiper. You have to love for them what you love for yourself. And he said, this is very difficult, but Allah is asking of us to rise above our insaniya, our default setting. Right? That's what we're being challenged to. It's very hard to do. These are not easy things. Islam, not an easy religion. It's easy at one level, but it's actually challenging us. And so, extremism is a human problem in every culture. I actually was at a congressional hearing, not a hearing, but it was a congressional meeting, and they asked me to speak on extremism. One of the things I said is that America is an extreme society. We're a society of extremists. We have extreme music, we have extreme sports, we have extreme eating. You'll never have, God forbid, I hope this never happens, but you will never have a falafel eating contest in Palestine. They're just not going to do it, right? They just broke the record, by the way, for hot dogs. The world record got broken. The guy ate like 200 hot dogs or something. But they had a water drinking contest in San Diego, and a woman died because any doctor knows, you drink too much water and suddenly you're upsetting your electrolyte balance. But it's crazy. So we have a lot of extremism in our culture, and then we have violent extremism. So extremism is a human problem. Sidi Ahmed Zarruq said the human nafs, the nature, our nature inclines towards extremism fi rushdi wal ghayb, both in guidance and in error and misguidance. They're both extremes. And that's why for a Muslim, if you're too liberal, you're at one extreme. If you're too conservative, you're at another extreme. The balance is where we want to be. I'tidal. The Quran is all about balance. Even in walking, waqsid fi mashika, be balanced in the way you walk. Don't walk too slow. Don't walk too fast. Be balanced. Everything's balanced. If you look at the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ is a sign of perfect balance. His hair was neither too curly nor too straight. It was wavy. He was of middle stature. His body was of middle stature. His color was, it said he wasn't pasty white and he wasn't ebony black. He was in the middle. Everything was balanced. So physically he was balanced. Spiritually he was balanced. Mentally he was the exemplar of balance. And he loved balance. And he despised extremes. And he warned us about extremism. And he wouldn't warn us if it wasn't a problem in religious communities. But he warned us. When he saw them gathering big stones on Hajj, he said, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْغُلُوَّ فِي الدِّينِ. All you need is little pebbles. And you see people they start throwing sandals and, really, they think it's like they're literally shayateen. They're stones. It's symbolic. Bismillah. You're just casting shaitan out of your life. Symbolically. It's not real in that way. It's not physical. It's a spiritual symbol.